Fresh Iranian strikes were reported across the Gulf region a day after the U.S. struck Karg Island and threatened Iranian oil facilities.
Euronews spoke with the UAE's Minister of State at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to see how the UAE is responding to the Iran war while facing daily attacks.
Fresh Iranian strikes were reported across the Gulf region on Sunday morning, a day after the U.S. struck Karg Island, vital to Iran's oil exports, and threatened Iranian oil facilities. Iran's military in turn threatened to attack U.S.-linked oil assets in the region if its oil infrastructure was hit. Iran accused the U.S. of using ports in the United Arab Emirates to launch the strikes, threatening for the first time a neighboring country's non-U.S. assets. The UAE, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia all reported drones and missiles had been launched at their countries on Sunday. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump said he hoped allies would send warships to secure the Strait of Hormuz. Britain, in response, said it was discussing with allies a range of options to secure shipping. At the same time, air raids sounded over Israel and Iran overnight as the two countries continued to trade strikes, while direct clashes between Israel and Hezbollah were reported in Lebanon.
The UAE is now entering the second week of a conflict it did not initiate, facing daily attacks while trying to stop the crisis from spiralling into a wider regional war. I spoke with Lana Nasabi, the UAE Minister of State at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and its former ambassador to the United Nations, about the country's response to those attacks, where its red lines are, and how the country is working to protect itself under daily missile attack.
We've had an incredibly challenging 14 days. We're 2 weeks into this conflict that, as you said, we did not want to be drawn into. In fact, we were very engaged in diplomatic efforts prior to this escalation to try and avoid a conflict in the region. But now that it has happened, I think the UAE has demonstrated two or three things. First of all, that it prioritizes the protection, the security, and the well-being of its resident and Emirati population. Second, you've seen that our economy is very resilient. So people are back at work. We will have a bounce back in our economy this year. I have no doubt about that. It is a safe place to work and do business. And thirdly, you see that everyone has rallied around the model that is being attacked in the UAE and the Gulf as islands of stability and prosperity. No one is signed up to the model that Iran is propagating with its illegal and unlawful attacks on all the Gulf region, which have been egregious. I think the priority right now is defending the country against these attacks and ensuring it doesn't disrupt normal life. But of course, we have been preparing for various scenarios in a very turbulent region for decades. So these are not new plans. We have had contingency plans in place since prior to this point.
In terms of Europe and the partners that are helping, without compromising national security or elements like that, how are you protecting the nation and how are the international partners involved?
I think they're coming in because they recognize that UAE interests are in fact global interests. They're, of course, the wider regional stability of Europe and the Eastern Mediterranean is incredibly important. But globally, the Straits of Hormuz, a fifth of the world's energy supplies, passes through that narrow waterway. And this has an impact on not only global energy prices, but global food security and food supplies. The UN has estimated that there's been an 18% increase in their ability to give aid to those most in need in terms of food insecurity, for example, as a result of this. So Iran must not be allowed to hold the global economy hostage by its rogue state behavior.
Is there a red line in all of this?
I think fundamentally the red lines are the security, the prosperity, the well-being of our Emirati community and our expatriate community here. We consider all of them part of this country and they deserve our protection. So that is our red line. Don't touch this model.